Flip Flappers is, in part, a story about agency, both on the narrative and meta levels. If you ever take a fiction writing class or read a book about fiction writing, chances are you're familiar with the concept of character agency. In short, a character with agency makes their own choices and carries out actions of their own volition, and in so doing, drive the story forward. They act instead of react. Character agency is often an important part of any narrative in that it can help make characters feel more fleshed out, and it can help more organically drive the story forward. And though many would argue agency is an essential ingredient in any story, characters with limited or no agency may yet still be useful. A character without agency is pretty much the opposite of one with. To quote a blog post by Chuck Wendig, I should look up how to pronounce that, I'm sorry, which I'm only quoting because it's coincidentally and hilariously appropriate, characters without agency tend to be like little paper boats bobbing down a river of your own making. They cannot steer, they cannot change the course of the river. The river is an external force that carries them along. Kokona, the protagonist of Flip Flappers, has very limited agency and is more of a reactive than active character. She's often pulled along by others, be it a mysterious new girl in her life or secret organizations she never knew she was tied up with. She frequently dreams she's on a boat, at the same time alone and being observed by a strange woman. This woman, as we later find out, is Kokona's mother, Mimi, who is, shall we say, very possessive and controlling of her daughter. Though Kokona isn't consciously aware of it, from the moment she's born, she's at the mercy of forces beyond her recognition or control. Even the forces she can recognize, Paprika and the rival explorers, push and pull her around hard enough that she often can't help but be swept up in their pace. And Kokona, whether consciously or not, is aware of how much is outside of her control, and more than anything wants to exert even the smallest measure of control over her life. That's why the first meaningful choice she makes occurs at the end of the first episode, when she hears that call to adventure and firmly responds, "No."
Yeah.
Even if some part of Kokona wanted to go adventuring with Paprika, if she'd accepted immediately, it wouldn't really have been her choice. After all, she'd just been dragged into this weird world against her will and was put in mortal danger. She didn't ask for any of that to happen, and if she just went along with it, she would have been just going with the flow. And would that be much better than floating endlessly down a river without a paddle to steer with? The choice to go adventuring had to be hers alone, not because of some greater duty or because fate called on her. There'd be no agency in that. Rather, she had to make the choice to go simply because she wanted to, because she found it fun, because she fell in love and wanted to be with that adventurer. Sure, you could argue that a bunch of random influences led her to make the choice to go adventuring with Paprika, and thus the choice wasn't really hers, but that's just determinism, and that sucks. What matters is she had the time to come to that decision of her own free will, had the chance to weigh the upsides and downsides, and still decided that she wanted to do it. That is agency. Kokona's agency continues to be challenged throughout the show, and one of Flip Flapper's most profound moments comes in the finale when Kokona self-actualizes by fully reclaiming her independence. Throughout the last few episodes, Kokona's mind and bodily autonomy is hijacked by her crazy magic mother, and she's all set to destroy the world. Thus, we get to the important choice. Kokona chooses to stop her mother. Her mother, the primary agent who robbed Kokona of her agency, the mother whose life goal is that, but even harder. Kokona says no to that with her fists. and her girlfriend. It's the ultimate declaration of independence. Suck it, founding fathers. A child breaking free of the controlling grasp of a parent because they desire to and are fully capable of living on their own, of making their own choices and being happy. Kokona takes back her agency and seizes her own destiny, and in so doing self-actualizes, becoming a fuller and happier person. So what can we take from all this? On some level, by making the story about Kokona being robbed of and then reclaiming her agency, the Flip Flappers is arguing that agency is necessary for a person to be. It argues that it's essential for one to be in control of their life in order to self-actualize and be happy. After all, if you're not free to make your own choices, you can't choose to pursue the things that will make you happy. But on a more meta storytelling level, I think this show is evidence for the usefulness of limiting a character's agency in fiction. It's often argued that a character requires agency, else they're just a prop, a boring character. Which is true often enough, but I don't think anyone would argue that Kokona fits those stereotypes. Despite how often her agency is limited, she is still a fully realized character, a compelling and relatable protagonist. Sure, her arc necessitates her reclaiming her agency, but that she often lacks it shows that a lack of agency can be useful as a storytelling device so long as you're careful. In Flip Flapper's case, this show uses a lack of agency to further illustrate the power of agency. So don't be afraid to use storytelling devices in ways that go against the grain. You just might stumble upon something smart. And that's done with the smart talk for me. So can I just gush for a bit? I'm gonna gush for a bit. Man, this show is so fucking rad. Like, just all of it. The visual and audio presentation is astounding. Like, seriously, this show is my aesthetic. There's never a moment where this show isn't visually engrossing. The character designs are stellar. They animate well. They're unified in their stylization. Yeah, they're varied enough and filled with enough simple details that you can infer a lot about a character just from the way their eyes are shaped. This is nuts. And then there's all the different magical worlds they go to, each of which has their own distinct visual and auditory identity. Like, there's this village of sand people, which is primarily coated in dull, warm colors, which communicates the relative inhospitality of their environment. But musically, the village is mostly characterized by light percussion, signaling that despite their conditions, villagers find some peace in their lives. Oh, there's the winter wonderland of the first episode, filled with light as far as the eye can see, upon which the characters are barely a speck. It's beautiful yet lonely, perfectly encapsulating Kokona's emotional state at the time. And then this haunted house school with the low lighting and the spooky ambient music on the time they lived out the memories of that painter girl Iroha, which was preceded by a fight in a painterly world, and the memories themselves were divided into two distinct color schemes, blue and orange, the contrast between which highlighted Iroha's happiness with her aunt and her dysfunctional home life. And God, the fucking fight animation! It's like every episode, look at this, it's so cool! Ah! Okay, no, that's it. I'm done. I think I'm done. That's Flip Flappers. It's a good show. I love it. You should too. Something, agency, concluding thoughts. We're done now. Thanks for watching my rambling about the gayest magical girl show ever. I didn't even discuss that. Guys, it's gay and it's great. I love it. This has been a viewer's choice video. Check the description for more on that. The next video, I promise this time, is the Go Princess Precure video, so stick around for that. Thanks again for watching, and be gay, do crime.